that challenge and take it to the famed import.
Honestly, Someday and Seraph is going to be one of the best matches of this entire series. We're going to get to see two teams that really like to have their top laner be some kind of a carry, go head-to-head and see which one of these two guys is really going to be the main character of this show.
And with the junglers also being in tow, we probably will see them hovering around the top, half of the map, as both of the bottom lanes, the English-speaking parts of both of these teams, have been kind of left to their own devices down there without a lot of support.
So into champion selection for game number 1. Very typical red side bans coming out for Team Envy, while Dignitas decided to remove Jace and 2 of those power pick supports from the table and also get to grab Varus for themselves first pick. Very popular to do right now.
Yep, Varus, super strong laning phase, builds into the lethality, so it's great even through the mid game, and the lethality is answered here very quickly with Jhin. You do not want to get pushed deeper down the AD carry list, but same thing being said here. Lethality is basically the theme for all of these roles, jungle included, as Graves and Kha'Zix are the next. So we're just kind of dropping down the tier list right now. Nothing really crazy coming out in pick bans so far. Some teams do prefer the Maokai for the more standard team fighting. It does scale extremely well. It can be that hard blocker on the front line, but Shen opens up more options. We talked about Seraph liking to pull a lot more creative shot calling from the top side. This allows him to affect the rest of the map a little bit easier.
And these first 5 picks actually came through lightning fast. It was just boom, 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 boom.
We've gotten to that point. We're at the stable point in the patch where everybody's pretty sure what they want, and they're very sure as well as what the enemy team is going to pick. So it's just we're kind of filtering down here through the AD carry jungle and even top lane tier list now. So that does leave support in mid lane.
Support in mid lane, telling us exactly where the bans are going to be focused here in part number 2 of the new 10-ban system. Ryze taken off the table first and foremost by Envy. Don't want to be dealing with Keen on that one today.
Yeah, we'll see what Team Dignitas have in store as well. These are where more of the crazy picks come out, right? We talk about Keen and all his deep champion pool, the Urgot mid, the Hekra mid, these sorts of things from his past that he has used. And Ninja is definitely no slouch as well.
Right.
He likes to be on the front line as a mid laner. But the standard one's just coming out now. Corki as well, extremely powerful in the current meta. And just going take out a little bit off the top here. Orianna, Cassiopeia, these things are still left up, but they're switching over to supports now.
I'm going to touch both roles a little bit, not completely focus on that mid lane. Decide to hit bottom up a little bit harder after the Malzahar and Zyra bans from phase number 1. Yeah,
Syndra is still available as well. Definitely could provide that extra burst. It's also a pick, I kind of like versus these carry junglers. We're seeing so many of these carry junglers. Early on, they really do have to respect mid laners like that to have so much burst around that level 6 mark. So might give them a healthy amount of respect towards the middle of the map. But yeah, we're just splitting again. Supports here. I guess it's just super target ban at Hakuo because Thresh is a actually pretty rare ban. The thing is, we've dropped down 4 supports now if you take all bans in total. And that is prompting the Lulu pretty early here from Team Envy, as they'll have a little bit of extra safety. I always like supports like that when you're playing something like Kha'Zix as your carry, looking to get the jump in and go for these resets. The extra wild growth is just tremendously helpful in getting you to that next reset.
And an interesting thing to point out, this is actually going to be the first time in Spring Split 2017 that Hakuo is playing a support that is not Zyra, Malzahar, or Karma. That's been his entire pool so far. And granted, it's also going to be the first time we're seeing stunt play support at all. So it'll be an interesting approach.
His first Nami ever!
First Nami of 2017, locking that one in, as they're also looking at potentially picking up the Orianna there to deal with the mid lane. They do have to pick this one blind, as Envy has saved that mid laner for last.
Yeah, super duper standard here from both sides. There will be that slight global advantage here for Team Envy with the Shen from the top lane, but Maokai quite fine in that matchup. I do think Shen just provides you a little bit of extra pressure because the laning is just great early on versus Maokai as well. And then obviously you do have the extra cross-map tool, but no surprise here as well. Cassiopeia does come in versus the Orianna. And we'll see what Ninja can do. I actually do like Orianna here in that matchup as a little bit favored with the extra range, and you can use the Shockwave to disengage if she ever does go for those all-ins where she's chasing you down. But Orianna does not have to look at Cassiopeia to get off much of her damage at all, even though you do like to thread in auto attacks. So can play around that pretty easily.
You know, one thing we were talking about in previous instances of Dignitas games is Dignitas working a lot and focusing a lot on the communication between these team members. They want to make sure that they have healthy communication between everybody on the team. They don't just want to have Keen slap a band-aid on it and translate for everybody and everything will be fine.
And it has not been that. It has been the opposite of that so far for the team. So we'll see if their roster change does help out in that area and get more talkative here, because we've been looking at it a little bit, and Keen, while he does know both languages, isn't like a super vocal person.
Right.
And it is a little bit difficult to get those in-game spot translations in the heat of action.
But on the other side, Envy is also a team that's historically had some communication problems. They got they didn't have the real roster for the first couple of weeks. Things are a little bit shisty for a while. So hopefully both these teams can kind of work on those communication issues a little bit and find ways to better manage themselves in the mid game and the late game that have been so problematic.
Yeah, they're starting at the bottom. Got to make their way up now. 9th place is the first step on the ladder.
Exactly. Exactly. You're at least ahead of somebody else then, and at the end of this game, somebody's going to be feeling good with that extra win under their belts, starting that upward momentum. As Envy moves out as a unit, not bothering to do that 5-point spread. Looks like they might be going for some kind of a level 1 move here. Moving in, Keen spotting them out, just kind of pressuring up further in towards this Raptor camp. Not going to go ahead and throw out any wards or anything just yet. But Dig is wanting nothing to do with this so far, instead just kind of mounting their own sort of a counter-attack, counter-invade here towards the enemy red buff.
Sunday probably going to drop one off here. Envy being cautious, rightfully so, after going for a strong invade down bottom side. You know that Team Dignitas had plenty of time up in your red quadrant, so grouping up for safety. Buckle up and
It's the buddy system. The buddy system. You got to stay together during this. Keystone Mastery's there at the bottom part of your screen. Grasp of the Undying for both Maokai and the Shen. Not bothering with that Courage of the Colossus anymore. Thunderlord showing up on both teams. Deathfire Touch on the Jhin. Warlord's Bloodlust on the Varus.
Yep. Not too surprising. The one change that people, if they haven't been paying attention recently, that might catch them off guard is that Courage of the Colossus that you're talking about. But I think pretty much everybody's used to the nerf now and the prevalence of the grasp taking over. Lyra is starting with the Raptors. This is a trend we've seen more and more from quite a few junglers, mostly Graves, but Kha'Zix as well. Because you can start with the W and get the AoEs, you get a little bit of extra experience right at level 1 because they're considered to get that extra bonus with your jungle item, and there are the most number of jungle monsters in the Raptor camp, so you get the most out of that little early lead. Then you transition over to red and go blue quadrant right after that. So we will still see both of these junglers end up on the bottom side of the map. However, I think that it is quite likely that we do see them double back. Wow, maybe even see them visit mid lane. Is Ninja got a very favorable trade, it looks like, early on there, maybe level 1 even.
Yeah, things are looking kind of sketchy for Keen right now. Luckily, he's still got some healing going on, still scarfing down those biscuits, working that health back up. But you got to respect what the Cassiopeia can do, man. If he gets on top of you with those twin fangs, the damage is unreal.
The damage is definitely real, and it is there. The one thing is that usually you'll see him go super low on mana for those trades, but it doesn't look like he burned through too much of the mana either. So probably got a lot of help from minions, maybe. Didn't quite see what went down there. Looks like Lyra is first to the Scuttle Crab, but Chaser isn't even bothering going into the river. I'm just going for the hard full clear here.
Lyra grabbing that Scuttle Crab on the bottom part of the map means that as Apollo and Hakuo are kind of shoving up down here, they're going to have just a little bit of extra protection, a little bit of extra vision in the river in case Chaser decides to pay them a visit.
Yeah, you can see the wards covering the 2 entrances into the river, and then the Scuttle Crab covers if there's any sort of shenanigans coming over the Dragon Pit. So every single entrance down there is now covered, and the bottom lane fully confident to push up. Usually, though, we would see like Varus Nami very strong and able to get a lot of push. The Envy duo lane definitely good to get control of this early on, though.
Problem for them is, even though they're the ones with control of the lane, they're actually still losing, even though it's ever so slightly in terms of the farm. The Vera's still having a couple more in his pocket compared to what Apollo's Jhin does. Stun going to be taking some damage there from the Lulu from Hakuo. And again, keeping eyes on both these support guys. It's Hakuo's first champion that's not Malzahar, Karma, or Zyra, and it's Stun's first game, period. Look at that fan vote. Everybody is putting their money on Dignitas today.
Dignitas fans. The Dignifans are coming out in force.
The Dignifans are out in full force today, 89% to 11.
All right, well, let's see if the team can make it work for themselves, because on the top side of the map, you see a little bit of jungle pressure here. But Someday's going to back off after that, so Chaser not going to go for anything. They did have a lot of vision here inside that quadrant of the jungle. Graves slipped over and has a pink ward, so Seraph needs to be a little bit cautious. They saw Graves head up this area, but they don't know that he's in this exact bush. Yeah, see that ward down there by the Gromp. Did see him come over, but there's the snare, and they're going on Seraph.
Here we go. Seraph going to be eating some damage from that end of the line. More bullets going to be poured into his back, but a flash away keeps him alive. Chaser not quite able to grab the kill, but the summoner spell is still a good result.
Yeah, and that's going to definitely draw out his teleport as well. Going to use his teleport to get back to lane, so we should have teleports being answered here. He'll lose out a couple minions maybe for that gank as well. Yeah, a couple melees there, but for the most part, should now just turn all his attention to farming 2-6. And we'll see if either of these teams actually do focus that bottom lane, because like we were talking about, you know, that's where the big break in communication for both of them does come with the English-speaking bottom lanes. And there has been in the past a bit of reluctance for them to work around that area, but it is extremely important in the current meta, especially since, you know, we have Varus and we have Jhin, the two premier AD carries at the moment in this game.
And it's hard to just throw your AD carries under the bus and say, oh, well, they're not going to come online until 30 minutes anyway, because now we've got these lethality builds. Yeah. And lethality is like, yeah, he's online as soon as he's got a ghost plate. Those suckers hurt.
Longsword number 1, ready to go.
All we need now is about 17 more of them, and the lethality build will be ready to fly. Dignitas still just pretty much forced to permanently set up residents under their turret.
Yeah, Envy bottom lane still retaining that control. And the CS is pretty close as well. Chaser going to show first, clear out this control ward. And it looks like Envy do want to collapse on him.
Oh, that's a really nice grounding from the miasma. Perfectly done by Ninja.
Chaser, no respect for the Cassiopeia here. Just waits around, gets caught by the miasma, and then as well doesn't turn his back. Ninja, that level 6. So we talked about level 6 respect for mid laners. Coming from the junglers. Syndra was the example that we were using in Champion Select, but Cassiopeia, another one of those mages, high burst potential, huge amounts of DPS, especially if you're going with one of these DPS junglers like Graves. And Chaser, zero respect for Ninja right there. Cost him his life and the first blood money, going over to Envy.
Mobility skills, including summoner spells like Flash, do not work at all on top of that miasma. And Chaser,
you can still walk and like turn your champion to not get stunned, but
Chaser was just, he was fully committed to hopping back over that wall to safety. Oh, Cassiopeia can't get me. Turns out she can. The play from Ninja comes out big here.
See, he wants to use his dash here, but I think he dashes into the wall too. Oh no, he doesn't even have to use it.
Never gets it off.
He just wanted to save it. Didn't respect him at all. And Keen's like, trying to save you, but
give you a shield, I guess.
Now you gave the enemy mid lane a first blood, where Keen was working up a very healthy CS lead in that matchup. Like we talked about, I like the Orianna versus Cassiopeia, but with that first blood going over, that's going to change the entire story here, because Cassiopeia, while there is that small laning advantage for Orianna, she scales up to be an absolute team fighting beast as well.
Real.
Chaser right back at it though.
Chaser into the enemy jungle on that Graves. He's got help from both Someday and Keen to try to steal this one away. Sadly, that is a very impatient Brambleback, and he's not going to be putting up with this for too long, so he resets. Chaser should still get this without too many problems, as Lyra hanging around on the bottom side of the map might be looking to return the favor, steal away Chasers, but he is going to be spotted out by that control ward when he goes for it.
Yeah, don't think they'll be able to do anything about it though, and he should be able to clear it on his way out. Actually, just calls over Ninja to help him clear it out. As well as provide support, since the duo lane did just recall. Now they need to get out of the jungle, and healthy respect now for the miasma from Chaser, as they're able to exit and just make that trade pretty even. Okay, so Next playmaking that we're looking for in this game. Big abilities are the top laner. You know, Shen does have ultimate ready. The thing is that it's been so long since they used their teleports to get back to lane that someday technically can answer. It just takes a lot longer, but it's not gonna happen. He's not gonna have time.
Stunt getting himself jumped on. Seraph's here with the stand united, and Lyra cashes in on a freebie for himself. Sidestepping that bubble too.
Whew. Just right in the enemy jungle. There's the immediate ultimate. Seraph's teleport won't be up to get back to his lane, but another kill for Envy and Team Dignitas. Seem like a lot of individual plays still at the moment, and fairly quiet over there.
Envy's living up to that stat that we
what odds
said
are you
earlier.
giving Lot here?
Ooh, secured. All right, Envy's got it. It's taken care of. Ocean Drake is theirs, working towards that gold advantage at 20 that they have that we were talking about earlier. But remember, this is where Envy normally does well. Once you get into 20 minutes, that's where Team Envy usually starts to show some weaknesses, some cracks in the armor. Have to see if they can keep this up.
This is one of the most dangerous points of the game is when you know, support, the duo lanes get their first backs and supports go out for their early warding roams. Lyra was ready. They saw him on that last ward over by red buff that they left around and jumped right on him with the no hesitation on Stand United.
4 curtain call shots coming out in bottom lane. 3 of those going to find their way into Lod as Stunt gets himself away from a potential KO threat if he would have been eating more than a couple of them. Apollo and Hakuo still continue to push this up. Now they've got control of the CS like you were kind of expecting based on the lane tempo earlier. A 16 advantage for Apollo. Serrated Dirk already picked up for him, working on the long swords for the Caulfield's Warhammer. And with the Boots of Swiftness completed, he is significantly faster than his no boots opponent.
Yes, sir. Gen 1, one of the only, if not the only AD carry going for those Swifties because of the way attack speed works for that champion. And if we're checking in on the bottom lane as well, the Lulu that people are seeing more and more, there was a round of buffs, right? It wasn't just a single buff that Lulu got to help her really come into the meta. It's also a lot about quite a few of the matchups, but yeah, you are going to be maxing the help picks as expected here from Hakuo, and they've had no trouble at all in this laning phase, save for just landing the last hits early on, a couple of unforced ones.
Things have gone pretty well for them. More fighting between these two tanks in the top side. Going back to sort of the conversation we were having earlier about these two, Seraph and Someday both really high on carrying the game.
Definitely true. We have a lot of movement around top side too. The whole team here from Dignitas are up on the top side. They are making this, if you're looking for team plays, this is definitely a team call. They're swapping lanes and bringing more than just the duo lane up to the top side. They want to get this early turret, so they're calling Graves as well. And one of the advantages of bringing a ranged jungler is that Graves can come, join, help push down this turret. And it looks like, since it's so low there from Someday, working on it while Seraph used Stand United across map, Dignitas should be able to grab their first objective here and cash in on the first turret gold.
Envy lets the turret go, but now they're looking to make some kind of a counterattack here. Curtain call used, going to be interrupted after 2 shots by the wave. Lyra bound up by the Chain of Corruption. Can't get Seraph in there how he wants to with the Stand United. Now Someday into the back line. Lyra is going to be bursted first. More damage onto the tree. Cut him down. Apollo's got kill number 1. 1 for 0. Envy at least picks something up for losing that objective.
It was a great macro call here from Team Dignitas to look to get something back for Shen leaving the lane, you know, and taking something with the work that Someday had done on the turret. But after 4 members of Team Dignitas had disengaged there, and everybody was making their escape, they were pretty much free and clear, you know, down the lane there. Someday goes in on the bottom side, and the lack of coordination, it still seems to be there. They give up another kill, so even with that turret gold, the gold is still even. Because look at this. This is 3 members pretty much escaping. The tidal wave is good to disengage there. He lands the Chain of Corruption, so the Team Dignitas bottom lane is able to get out. But then Someday completes teleport, and he is in there. He tries again. This is one of those situations where he's like, I'm trying to help you. You're pretty deep, though, and no escape.
Would have just looked to see that teleport canceled, more than likely, because the disengage was just so perfect. I mean, Nami Tidal Wave is such an effective tool for stopping curtain calls as well. As soon as you see that big triangle firing range open up, you just point the Tidal Wave in the general direction, and he's not allowed to fire all the bullets.
Yep, and very accurate Chain of Corruption from Lod, almost got him out, but regardless, Envy now, they're actually sitting pretty here. I mean, they've got the gold lead already, and they should be able to work down that outer turret on the other side in trade from Team Dignitas. Maybe Team Dignitas can try and set up some more vision around the bottom side while this is happening, because they definitely can't stop this from going down. But what they can do is try and prepare for the future. Try and prepare for this Infernal Drake that's about to come up. You know, that is something that holds a lot of value towards the end game, and maybe have their eyes set towards that area.
Infernal Drake going to be real useful for these AD carries, given that much more damage to stack with all the lethality they're going to be building. Also, both junglers, we're not talking about tank-style junglers in this game. These junglers would love to get that extra kind of damage on a Graves or a Kha'Zix and really make it so when they show up, you've really got to be afraid of your health hitting 0 just from one rotation.
Yes, sir. Fire Drake, the most popular.
For a reason. He's the funnest one.
And it looks like 50 seconds. Team Dignitas still do have control over that bottom quadrant of the map. They've got plenty of vision set up there. Now they need to use that vision to gain a health advantage. It's going to be difficult for Team EnVy to walk over there and try and face check into all these brush. So Team Dignitas, if they have everyone coordinated and ready to go, they should be able to get it. But Someday currently is up in the top lane. Maybe, you know, if he starts walking now, he would head down to that Infernal Drake and be here for the confrontation. Because if he doesn't, Seraph can easily join the fight. You know, he's got 2 methods. He can even join the fight, turn it, and then teleport back to top lane to try and stop the split push. So definitely expect them to call Someday down, because you want that Maokai on the front line when the fighting begins.
You got to make sure that you're putting everything out there to start this fight, as Lyra's going to be caught out. That should be huge. No way to contest the Drake when you don't have your jungler. Awesome pick for Dig.
The rewards of vision. Oh, he talked about, you know, setting that up, and you know, Lyra walks right into it. So Team Dignitas will be able to get that Infernal Drake and get them right back in here.
Dignitas picking up a very valuable neutral objective for themselves. Going to be giving them that extra damage both ways. Someday trying to just pose a threat there on the front line. Spirit Visage done for his Maokai, so pretty darn tanky against any sort of AP damage going to be heading his way. Still pretty vulnerable in terms of things like the Jhin and the Kha'Zix, though, so he's still got to be kind of respectful of what he's haphazardly throwing himself into.
Healthy amount of respect. Currently against the Shen, a lot of magic damage there, so he should be okay. But if Lyra is dead, you can't gank him.
Right.
Lyra dead right now, as there's the face check we talked about. Pretty clear and simple. And clean objective right after. Plus, quadra buffs now for Team Dignitas.
Very good feeling right now. Less than 1,000 gold separating the two teams. The Drakes are even. The turrets are almost even. Dignitas has a 1 advantage in that department. Warrior enchantments completed on both of these junglers.
Soon to be equalized.
Soon. As Apollo and Hakuo pour more damage into this bottom lane tier 1. The caster minions helping him out. Keen shows up, but it's too little, too late. And now everything is equalized in terms of the objectives, but because of that kill lead that EnVy has, they're still up about 1,000 gold. But we're getting ever so closer to the part of the game that EnVy really struggles with. And it's important to point out because this team has almost methodically failed to find results in the mid game, failed to find results in the 20 to 25 minute mark especially. And they're going to need to do that against Dignitas, because Dig just showed, they're like, hey, if you start to stumble, if you let us do what we want to do, we're going to find you.
And a big part of where those problems have come from, it was a very clear example of that dragon setup, right? Team Dignitas had set up around this dragon for a good 50 seconds with all the vision. And then your super squishy assassin jungler is the one face checking here, gets killed and gives over the objective. Those are the types of things, these vision-based setups is where the team has been lacking for Team EnVy here. So that's going to be step number 1 for them, setting up, because the team fights moving forward will have much greater rewards.
Absolutely will. There's not a lot to really fight for at this point in time, considering each team only has 1 outer turret left going. It is that mid lane turret. Everybody's kind of setting up shop here anyway, so it's hard to ram your face against that and actually manage to knock it down. Meanwhile, with Drake dead, Rift Herald's the only thing alive on the map, and he's not a very popular guy. Nobody really likes taking Rift Herald unless you're Immortals, and then you take him every game.
Sad but true. Good old Rift Herald. That's okay. He's only got a minute and 45 seconds left on the Rift, and then he can go home.
Then he can
back to the Void where he is appreciated and people love him. They celebrate him every day.
Him being around.
How do you know that in the Void, right at 20 minutes every game, they're like, yay!
They're throwing a
Rift
party.
Herald's back!
Yeah, they're just waiting. Everybody's waiting in the dark to flip the light switch on with their hats and the cake and everything. They're so happy that he comes back.
It's like, whew, I finally got out of Summoner's Rift, guys.
Everybody on Summoner's Rift is just so happy he's gone.
Meanwhile, it looks like we will have a fairly inactive mid-game here because Team Dignitas, their initiation does look like the teleport flanks from Someday, and it is nice to have that Maokai there early so that you can really coordinate with your Orianna, set the shockwave up, chain this Varus ultimate as well. They have a lot of tools for themselves to set up for the team fights. It's just that since both these teams are quite standard in their setups, it is going to look very similar. There is this one pretty nice ward I do like in the mid lane that's a little bit deep for Team Dignitas, and if you get behind ooh, another face.
Lyra gonna find Chaser there. Important thing to point out, Lyra's got those souped up rockets, so they're gonna be doing more slows. He's obviously shooting out 3 volleys of them instead of just 1, but he doesn't have reset wings. Something that you want to compare to something like what we saw in the Echo Fox versus TSM performance, where Acadian was just jumping all over the place, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with all his wings. Not going to be happening yet for Lyra. Still has to wait 5 more levels for that.
Yeah, and that's become the more popular build. Just the likelihood of you using the combat power of the triple spike or the isolated slow that you're getting with them is just a lot higher, especially in the early game here. The likelihood of you getting multiple giant resets is a lot more towards the end game. So that's why people have been okay delaying the wings to their 3rd evolution and opting for the spikes a bit earlier on. However, if the early game is going super well for you, by all means, don't feel like you need to follow along in the footsteps and always go into the pattern of Q and then W evolves. Oh, we got a fight here, though. Let's go.
Breaking out. Chain of Corruption coming in to disengage this one. Lyra going to be pulling himself back now. Wild Growth keeping him alive. Someday right back into the mix, looking to lock these guys down however he can. Deadly Flourish going to be holding him still. EnVy gets themselves out, Dig gets themselves out, everybody's walking away, and it's 40 seconds until Infernal Drake number 2, so both teams got to regroup quick.
And 8 ultimates were used there in that fight. Couple of summoner spells on both sides as well, so pretty even tools used here. Ninja still has his, though, and he's ready to go. So does Keen, so you really have to respect the Orianna ball still. Both these mid laners could make fairly big plays around this Drake, and it is an Infernal Drake, so probably we'll see a lot of action here.
15 seconds until it spawns. Stunt has not been able to back. Still very hurt from the previous fight. Really needs to be mindful of exactly where he puts himself and how easy it is for somebody like Lyra to pop him if he's in the wrong spot.
Yep. Seraph also doesn't have Stand United, so it's hard for either of these teams to really split off and try and get a side wave advantage. The minions are pretty even down the river as well, so we're just having a standoff here. Scuttle Crab is in EnVy's control, though, so it's hard for Team Dignitas to force. Whenever the game is this close in gold, neither team really wants to take the extra damage, even though it's not huge from the Drake. Stunt gets snared up, though, and he's the low health member already.
EnVy doesn't want to pull the trigger on it, though. Very, very cautious about this. They want to go for somebody, one of those big damage threats. Seraph off to the side, looking to make some kind of a pincer attack, but just can't find a chance to do it and feel good about it.
That's right. The team fights here for Team EnVy do look like Lyra on the outside just throwing those volleys of spikes over and over until they're able to get some damage onto one of the squishies for him to try and go in, because a Kha'Zix jumping into a team with Nami as well as Maokai for Peel is definitely dangerous for the Kha'Zix. And neither team really wants to commit at this moment. Keen is with the rest of the team, whereas they're trying to have Ninja split. Even though Seraph Stand United has just come back up, Team EnVy are trying to pay attention to the side waves here. Now they're sending Seraph up to the top side, and they've had Ninja down on the bottom side for quite a while to get both side waves pushed out to really prep for this dragon, set some advantages in motion for themselves. You want to get these waves pushing and then pull back to the Drake pit where you can use some time to set up vision.
And there's no way to answer that for Dignitas right now, because Sumday's teleport is, again, just not synced up with Seraph being able to come down to the fight. So if they send Someday up there, they have to stare down the barrel of that 5v4 at the Drake fight, which when it's one of these valuable Drakes, you never want to be doing.
And that means that it's much more likely for Team Dignitas to try and set up here first and force the issue, because if Team Dignitas just let Seraph continue to split push, they slowly lose out some top tower health and a little bit of the map here. Time is not working in Team Dignitas' favor, so we may see them rush into something here. Starting up the dragon, Someday can tank it really easily, but he also wants to be able to zone for the initiation of Team Envy. And they're actually going to be able to take it very quickly. Envy decide to make the call to stick with the split push. I don't know how much damage Seraph is getting on that turret. Shen takes a long time. Yeah, without the extra voidlings coming from the, looks like a Zerat portal, he takes a very long time.
I mean, he's beating it with a thunder stick. How long do you think it would take to break a rock with a thunder stick, Kobe?
That's a good question.
It's probably a real long time.
I don't know how, maybe it's a question of how many thunder sticks do you have to go through before you can actually break a rock. Because I feel like your thunder stick's gonna break first.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna go through more than a couple of them, but Seraph has to get himself out of there now, not quite able to grab that tier 2 turret in exchange for the Drake. Dignitas happy to have 2 of those under their belts now. The next one spawning is not going to be another one. It'll be Mountain this time, so that'll offer some extra objective control if they decide to get that later. 25 minutes into the game, Baron is now also a factor. Either one of these teams can find a chance to maybe set up around there, find some kind of a pick, and translate into that.
Yeah, which has not been the case so far.
Nope.
Not.
It's hard to find picks when there's 4 Edges of Night in the game.
I found picks right there on screen.
Oh no.
Freak level.
I didn't
freak
think I
level
was
answer.
casting with Freak. What is this? Okay. Okay, picks is on the screen, but we're talking about the real kinds of picks, the ones that you try to make on guys but can't do it when they have a spell shield. And those Edge of Nights make it pretty difficult to
Quite a
pick
few
somebody
pings.
up.
Maybe we'll see some action here. We got Vision in the river, as well as Team Dignitas moving in for the Scryer's Bloom control. Oh, who's gonna get it? No.
Nope.
Backs up. Lyra takes.
All Lyras. All Lyras. Gonna spot out a couple of those wards. See stunt as well. Still only 3-1. Teams playing this very, very, very cautiously.
Yeah, and this is a lot what we see when we're talking about, hey, both these teams. Uh-oh.
Look at Lyra going in like that. Edge of Night, Withstand United. Seraph with a
Chaser's
flash
still
right
up.
after him. Ninja's coming too. Chaser getting run down. A little bit more damage
Whoa,
to do, but Lyra
Keen!
goes first. Keen makes a play out of it somehow as Hakuo now going to be taken down by Someday. Dignitas goes 1 for 2. Now looking to grab even more members of Envy. Ninja gets shot. And Lod grabs that one. Seraph now alone having to face 4 members of Dignitas. Apollo's hanging around trying to help however he can, but it's going to be a tall order. There comes your rain of arrows, and Lod's grabbing a killing spree. Dignitas originally looked like they were going to lose their jungler, and they go 4 for 1.
They're the ones first to the Baron area, setting up all the vision, and then the initiation here from Envy. They do not take down Chaser with that assassination. He lives for so long up there with Keen, and Keen, big play right there, flashes in with the intentional sombrero to be able to get the melee range shockwave and turn the tides of the fight. Team Dignitas with a very nice Baron here after the kills. That should mean the difference, and they will get right to pushing down turrets after this. Let's take a look, because this is the attempted pick here. Okay, if your Shen is able to get the taunt right after this, then Chaser is down. But he flashes early. Seraph also tries to flash at the end of his taunt, but taunt had already timed out, so he didn't get it there. And it took them so long. Ninja uses the Cassiopeia ultimate in chase, didn't even get damage out of it. So a lot used by Envy to chase here. And they do overchase since Team Dignitas were already, as a team, grouping up around the Baron, getting ready for, this objective, this confrontation. And there they go. Team Dignitas are able to rally around Chaser, even though he goes down. Valiant fight and a good sacrifice.
Very good sacrifices. Team Dignitas now has themselves Baron buff up and running. They've got all 5 men middle pushing down this tier 2 turret. It's time to grab some of that objective money. Someday going to be caught out a little bit here, stuck in the miasma, going to be soaking a lot from those twin fangs. Tidal wave coming out. Ninja may just be the target. Lyra jumping himself away over the wall, trying to bait Someday in. Lod and Keen eating the shots from this curtain call. Stunt takes bullet number 4, and Dignitas get themselves out.
Oh, Seraph is actually teleporting in. They want to cut him off, but he's pretty far away from the rest of the squad. Could take a lot of damage.
This is a 1v5 scenario. Taunts himself back over the cliff and doesn't want anything to do with that.
This is the thing, and these are the strengths and weaknesses of these 2 top laners that we talk about, right? Maokai is totally fine teleporting into something like that. Now I'm in the middle. I'm holding him here for you guys. Shen, a little bit weaker towards the late game here as just a straight-up tank, and the strength does come from that pick potential that we're supposed to see you try and capitalize with, but EnVy were unable to make the pick turn an advantage for themselves. In which case, Maokai taking over, double Infernal Drakes for Team Dignitas as well as this gold lead, so they are feeling very confident here about the late game.
Want to see them make more with this Baron that they have, though. They've still got plenty of time left to work with on this, still about a minute and a half-ish, I believe. And that needs to become more objectives for these guys. There's still tier 2 turrets standing in both the top lane and the bottom lane. That's extra money they could be going for, and they want to get as much out of this advantage as they can so they can keep working from that position of power after it wears away.
Yeah, keep pushing. You can also starve out a little bit EnVy inside their base and then just pull back to that extra Mountain Drake. Keep stacking Drake control, so you get some gold for yourself first. Then you draw back through the jungle where you just laid a bunch of wards. Go pick up your Drake advantage as well. Lear's just up here trying to slow them down. It looks like they're actually going to keep this push up because they want to make the most of the end of the Baron buff. And if you can actually craft inhibitor turrets with this early Baron buff, that would make finishing out the entire game quite a lot easier.
Dignitas is putting a lot of work into it. Curtain Call opens up. Lyra off to the side, maybe looking to make that delivery with Shen. Ninja takes so much damage from the piercing arrow. EnVy now just kind of standing back and watching Dignitas dismantle this bottom lane. Inhibitor falls 30 minutes in. Dignitas, they've got control.
Those arrows onto the back line just really take all the fight out of Team EnVy. If you're Cassiopeia, who's one of the big playmakers in the late game, one that's going to have to carry a lot of the team fight DPS, gets chunked down to 25%. There's no way they're going to go in on that. So inhibitor taken, plus now they can draw back to the Mountain Drake, and Team Dignitas is going to roll this one pretty steadily through.
That Drake is the last little fella that's going to be spawned in this game too. All of them from here on out are the big bad Elder Drakes, the big boys themselves. First one of those going to be spawning a little bit after the 36-30 mark. And with 3 Drakes under your belt, 2 of which are Infernals, that is going to be one mean burn if Dignitas gets it. EnVy, though, now setting up shop in their own jungle. They finally got a chance to breathe a little bit. In and out, just sort of taking it easy, trying to get themselves the composure back, regain a little bit of footing in the rest of the map, hoping that they can stop this Dignitas advantage that has just ballooned after the Baron.
Yeah, very difficult for them. They're going to try and keep Seraph down on the bottom side to hold off super minions, but he's not. It's going to take him so long to even push up. He's basically just dealing with the super minions here, and he's kind of pinned down, whereas Team Dignitas can move on up to the opposite side of the map and try and pressure top side to get some secondary turret action going in their favor. Pretty decent Baron power play. I'd say that's about average, 4,500.
Good stuff for Team Dignitas as the curtain call opens up again. Lyra and Ninja off to the side. Miasma going to be zoning Chaser away. But the tier 2 is still going to be taken down, and now Apollo does not have one of those big zoning tools to try to protect the next one. Dignitas goes marching on.
Maokai tank on the front line with Nami healing right behind him. Perfect setup here, and they're able to just brute force wear down the turret. Team EnVy, it's so difficult because you're only really advantaged if you get a good flank, but someday here, screening on the front line, Team Dignitas aren't giving them an opening at all. Another inhibitor turret drops.
EnVy can't find their chance to keep it alive in any measurable amount of time. Dignitas now firing off that tidal wave.
Ghosted.
Rockets coming in. Ninja trying to make some kind of play. Stand United comes out onto him. They got to get in there now. Seraph looking to find some kind of a taunt. Someday's the only one in range. Keen's going to be bound up. Nice shockwave. Ninja's done. Seraph having to retreat, but Someday is still in hot pursuit. You can't run from nature itself. Someday will chase these guys out. Dignitas grabs inhibitor number 2. They've still got a minion wave behind them. Why stop now?
Solid team fight here from Team Dignitas, and they can just walk this through as well. 3 members here from EnVy trying their best, but
what are they going to do?
There goes the Nexus.
There is no way to keep these things alive. Dignitas moves on to the Nexus, and a couple of arrows, a couple of shotgun shots. Apollo's right back into the fountain, and Dignitas take game 1.
And the Digna fans go wild.
The Digna fans, that 89% was not a lie, Kobe. They believed.
All right, this whole game was the story of one team fight. It was an attempt from Envy to get a Shen pick there with the Kazakhs jumping in. Your assassin with the Shen on his back. And Team Dignitas were able to evade just long enough. Chaser, some fancy footwork there on Graves, able to delay, and the overextension, they punished. They got, what, 4 kills? Almost an entire ace off of that, and then the Baron.
Yeah, that Baron just completely ran away with the game. Up until then, 1-3 game, everybody's super quiet, everybody's kind of tiptoeing around a little bit, trying to make sure that they don't do anything too loud or crazy. And then as soon as Dignitas grabs the Baron, they're like, wait a second. We can do anything we want.
Yeah.
Let's win.
And that's why so many teams are drafting the Maokai for the front line. This is a very solid standard team fight setup that they've got for themselves. And if the team with the extra mobility isn't able to make use of that mobility, then you see the wins in a pretty standard style like this. Now, we do have a replay of that fight that we're talking about here. This was the entire game. Ninja, pretty close to fall here on screen. He's going to be able to use his Cassiopeia ultimate. And the big thing is, that Cassiopeia ultimate doesn't even get the damage onto Chaser. He flashes forward for it, but Chaser dashes there, you can see, into the brush. And Keen doing another ultimate flash for himself. He actually does find the kill, so Team Dignitas there cleaning up on the backside. A lot of these kills did go over to Laud as well on the Varus here. Getting a lot of snipes in. Chain of Corruption, he gets that one. And then eventually they chase down Seraph as well and retreat back to the Baron. So it was the 4-for-1 team fight plus Baron afterwards that allowed them to gain such a tremendous gold advantage.
And it was trending towards Envy there for a while. But what did I keep saying throughout the game? Envy looks good early. You hit that mid 20-minute mark, that's when Envy starts struggling. And this game is just another repetition of that fact. They've really got to break that cadence and find out how to fix that.
Yeah, they did go for that pick without total vision, right? It was kind of an uninformed pick, just hoping that Team Dignitas were spread out. And actually, it was, even then, even if it was uninformed, it would have been okay if they had actually killed Chaser on the spot. If that taunt lands right when he's coming out and they finish him off, then they're the ones with the 4-5 advantage. But Chaser with the flash right after, dodged Seraph, and he was able to survive long enough to draw out some more cooldowns.
Yeah, Chaser did a really good job playing that out in general, just making sure that he was buying as much time as possible. Sometimes when you get jumped on by a Kazakhs and you're like, he's
with
got
the Shen on him as well.
He's got the Shen on him. You're like, man, I'm just dead. I might as well stand here and spam my dance or something. But no, Chaser's getting himself out. He wastes so much time. The Cassiopeia ult just completely whiffs, and it was well done by Dignitas. And even more well done is the fact that they were able to translate that into such a smooth victory afterwards.
Yeah.
I was a little bit concerned that maybe they're going to stall out. Maybe they're going to wait for another Baron. Maybe they're not going to push more tier 2s, but they went tier 2, tier 3 inhibitor.
Put up their Maokai shield,
is done.
Nami heal them, and just move forward. They just slowly push down the turrets.
Someday is a brick, and he is walking right up into it, and nobody is going to be stopping him anytime soon. That was the game plan. That's what worked. And in game number 2, we'll have to see if they can manage to stop that on the side of Team Envy, because if Dig's allowed to just have that Maokai again and run crazy with it, it's hard to answer.
Yeah, the teams are now taking their break, going back to strategize for game number 2, see if it will be a difference in champion select. And even in a lot of it is in execution. You can, like, this is not a champion select loss. This is an execution loss. So we'll see if they can regroup and make this a 3-game series, or if Team Dignitas can end it out 2-0.
We'll see what these teams bring out in game 2 of Envy versus Dignitas. And as we head to the break this time, we're going to listen in to some of the pros' high-level strats on the latest edition of Mic Check. Take a listen.